Hello, hi, and welcome to our first episode here. My name is Fernando, and I am a psychologist. I'm gonna introduce my friend. Well, I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Kaiko. I'm an energy worker and I'm very pleased to start this podcast. Finally.
Okay, yeah, I know, right? We've been kind of postponing it, but the intention of today's session is actually has the name of you. Checked it out. It's called New Beginnings. So it's all about that. Actually, Kaiko and myself, we're having this conversation about what is it that a new beginning means. So, Kaiko, I remember that I watched this interesting video. If I remember correctly, it was from a rabbi, and he was telling this story about how a specific kind of crab, when the crab starts to grow, of course the shell doesn't
grow.
So the shell doesn't grow. So the crab has to make a decision whether to stay in the shell and kind of actually suffocate, or it has to come out of the shell and kind of be a little bit vulnerable or very vulnerable, and has to create a new shell. So for me, that was quite interesting to see how, when it's really an analogy on how we create a new beginning, but also how we need to let go, or how our life in some ways forces us to change.
And that sounds like very much like feeling a little bit uncomfortable,
or a lot.
In the process, and then also at the beginning.
Yes. So I was thinking about that. It's like how should we start this episode, and so I was thinking about that metaphor and it bringing that into a conversation. And I want to ask like this open question, also for people that are listening, how many times you've been in the circumstance and where you know that your life is not at the same size, that you need to breathe more, you need to breathe different air, you need to perhaps meet different people, you need to do different things. And maybe you don't know where to start. Maybe you don't know many things. Maybe you feel lost a little bit. But what you do know is that life is not fitting in the way you've been used to.
And when that happens, you don't know where actually you are going, and obviously you don't know where you are landing.
So, in the same way, I was thinking about and thinking actually also about my experiences. I know we can talk also about our experiences.
Own experiences,
How many times you were in that circumstance and where you needed to make a change in your life, and what is it that you did to make that possible?
Because I happen to be artist also. So for me, it's very comfortable to start creating art pieces, and because it's part of my life. I don't need an excuse to start drawing or making whatever. So I play with that, and then people often ask me, "Why are you doing it? Are you selling?" And then maybe most of the time I'm not, but still I feel like I'm making, and then I don't know where that takes me, but always that gives me like an engine, like a start my ignition, ignite my creative flow. So, and then I still don't know where that takes me, but that's okay. I started to feel uncomfortable by starting to create something without knowing where that's going or how that's gonna come into one pieces and stuff like that. But more and more I start and I fail and I stuck, I start to feel more comfortable not knowing where that's going, and then just keep doing it. What about you?
For me, for example, it's very similar. I would, I would put the invitation out there about just starting. Starting. Feel, as they say, feel the fear. Take a deep breath, or two, or 10, and begin with very small steps, in where you feel that you have a certain amount of control. And I think, as you mentioned, something just to get you ignited, just something to create that little momentum.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a couple of things tied to that. But when there's so many things we can do, but definitely just starting. And my therapist long time ago would tell me, let me see if I can translate that. He said, a brave person is not that person that has no fear. That brave person is that still feeling fear does it anyway. So I think in that sense, one of the first things I would say is start. Even if you don't know where that's taking you, even if you are unclear, perhaps you just need to take that first step. You can start drawing, you can start painting, you can start...
It's like allowing ourselves to create nonsense.
Yes.
Or like creating bad pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. And feeling, and then also, like you said, fear. It's all about fear. When we are feeling the fear, not the word, the sensation. It's the discomfort.
Yes.
I don't want to stay in this place. In this place meaning the state of your body. Feeling that discomfort, and then still write or draw or do whatever,
or write about your fear, or paint about your fear, or take pictures about let's go outside, but it's the act of doing something, I think, is what gets us out. I was thinking about this element of fear, and going a little bit into the emotional, the psychological element. Our brain is, in many ways, the bias of the brain is the tendency is to be more into survival mode. Because just to keep us alive. There's going to be always like a much faster tendency to try to protect us, try to warn us, try to help us survive. Now, I was thinking about that, how fear of acting, or how fear of going out and doing something plays an important role. And I found that one of the key things about that is sometimes there's fear because, and this is, for me, was like, yes, we might be afraid of being kicked out, or being I explain, when we think about how we used to live, like in tribes, or in systems, in small groups, being kicked out of a tribe,
it's a survival
I mean, it was
issue.
much more difficult for you to survive than to be part of the group. Part of the fear that we feel also, especially when we don't take that step, is like, is, am I gonna fail? Am I gonna be compared? Is this not gonna be good enough? One of the things that helped me, for example, in this process in my life, is like, follow the thought. It's like, if this fear is like, okay, and if that happens, if I fail, what happens? I'll have no money. If there's no money, I'm not gonna be able to eat. If I do, I'm gonna be, usually it ends up in I die, or I'm in the streets. It's like that. That's the chaotic. Like
I've done that process as well.
So where is this fear coming from? Is it a rational, fact check based fear, or is it really
coming from somewhere primitive, like programming?
Exactly. So I think taking the time to breathe and be mindful and observe the emotions, the fears, what's behind that fear, even play with it a little bit, you will find out how much is it based on a fact, or is it based on a supposition.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no. So looking at the thoughts, of the thoughts, where is this coming from? Our, perhaps, and I'm saying our, and saying as in the perception of this is feel the fear and do it anyways.
Yeah.
And I would say notice how many people's stories, usually for most of it, the first writing, the first painting, the first recording, that they do may not be what they expect. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because that takes them closer.
Because when you are starting, like as we are starting this recording and the podcast, we are thinking about, opening a podcast channel and then create a couple of stories and then, hopefully, that's going to inspire some people and then create a creative energy community. But that's what we are thinking, and then maybe not what's happening or what it was intended to be from the higher mind level. So but somehow we had to start for whatever reasons we don't know.
Yes.
So we had to procrastinate or
Yes. Yes, that's the step to take.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you call this? Like quote quote failure.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as failure. And we have to go through these stages. We have to go through these stages of, again, quote quote failure to rediscover how much we're able to do. Going back to the metaphor of this crab. How molting. Like getting out of this shell and just exposing itself to be vulnerable, but at the same time recognizing that it can no longer be contained at the same frame of reality that it was living through. So it had to jump. It had to take that step out. So would you say, and can we say that the more you practice, it becomes perhaps easier?
Yes.
Or much more integrated?
Because I know what I am doing, like a procrastination. It's like a meaningful procrastination. It's like a creative procrastination even.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the last part of the conversation, we were thinking about, okay, what can be some of the takeaways in this conversation, and so we got a couple of things that we want to share with you. And essentially the first one is, start doodling or start writing. Start with one sentence. You want to comment on that?
Don't just allow your thinking or the idea or the impulses stuck in your head. You need to somehow output it, and then don't think about sharing it with SNS or other people. You're just gonna tell yourself, okay, it's not gonna go anywhere, so I'm gonna write down whatever that's in my mind. So that's kind of encouragement I did when I was doing the first jump.
Yeah, excellent. So we have the second one is, I would say, look at other people's beginnings. Look at how other people started. And it's very interesting because maybe we can look at how other artists started, how other entrepreneurs, successful people started, how other sports athletes started. And I think there is a common, theme to this, which is consistency. Consistency. They just keep doing. And become better and better and better. So it's like, look at other people's beginnings, and maybe you don't have to go too far and to look in somebody that is super famous biography.
Yeah.
You can think about somebody that is, maybe that
resonate.
Or also even a family member, a friend, a local artist.
Or...
Exactly. And maybe sit down with them and like, how did you start it? What's your story?
Ask questions.
So that can give you a sense of like, oh, they started somewhere, and in that way you can also start. The third one is
like take care of your energy. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Taking care of your energy,
Yeah.
I think, is essential for creativity, because when we're talking about energy, we're talking about your vital energy. And it's basically taking us back to the basics:
Which are
sleep, exercise, and diet. Now, if somebody that is eating properly, somebody that's eating well, somebody that is sleeping, have a good night's sleep, and somebody that just takes
Moving.
self-care.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe there's going to be somebody out there that says, yeah, but there's some artists that are like night owls and the creativity comes at night. Yes, that absolutely. There are exceptions, and everybody is different, and that's true. At the same time, it's like a lot of these artists, I find, is they all have a space, like a room, a how do you call this?
Studio?
A studio, some place where they go and they feel a sense of safety. You see?
Yeah.
So I think when an artist, or when anybody in general feels a sense of safety, creativity flows differently. So I think creativity and also a sense of safety come together with taking good care of your energy as well.
Yeah. At the beginning, especially, it's very important.
And again, yes, there's going to be some creative people that have done amazing things out of despair, out of grief, out of anger, out of sadness. Yes, that also happens, and they have used those emotions, to be able to create something, which is number 4, listening to your body.
Yeah. Like talking, I said, talk through it when you feel fear or certain emotion, and then don't allow that to jeopardize your inspiration or creative thoughts. Because you may say, like, you have an idea, and then you may say, oh, it's not going to work, or what is the point of doing it if nobody's going to find it? And then don't allow these uncreative voices to finish it. Like, you need the encouragement to keep your curiosity going.
And the final one is find a mentor. Find the mentor.
That's very powerful.
Yes. Find a mentor. Again, sharing a little bit of my story, I find that a mentor is essential to take you from point A to point B, and it will teach you, to cross that bridge of uncertainty, because having a mentor is somebody that has already walked that path, has already done a series of things that you're just learning to do. So connecting with a mentor, also I would add to that, connecting with a group of people that is in some extent alike, or that is in some ways pursuing or is tuned into the energy that you are trying to create as well, to get those new ideas, and so finding a mentor is I think is very, very, very important. All right, so that concludes our episode on new beginnings and this conversation. Again, as two human beings here coexisting in this planet called Earth, with all ups and downs. We are doing also, remember that everybody's doing their best, whatever they are. You are also doing your best, and keep creating, keep staying curious. And thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
Thank you for joining this creative community.
All right. Thank you. My name is Fernando, and
I'm Kaiko.
okay, see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.